You started us on a path, Spencer, so I'm going to keep it going
Okay.
in terms of hierarchy of college football organizations. You got head coach, and we could debate all night, and I wouldn't necessarily be debating against you or for you. I don't know about Dan Lanning as being one of the elite college football coaches. I think he is showing those signs as the builder of a program. His in-game uh, approach has obviously taken a hit because of the Rose Bowl performance last year, and then of course the games against Washington the previous season. Then we drop it down to coordinators, and you mentioned the continuity there. Then we go to quarterback, and Dante Moore, even though he is a first time, somewhat of a first time starter, obviously he had his shot at UCLA
He's never
for part of
started
that
game one
season.
before.
Yeah, he's never started a game one. But if you look at I believe it's 6 of the top 8 teams in the initial coaches and AP poll are starting first time quarterbacks who are not experienced. So Oregon is not alone in that place. And so they seem to stack up. And then we go to schedule, and that's favorable. So maybe they are poised to make a playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, if they get in there, it'll depend on matchups, and what the strength of this team actually ends up being, or strengths, I should say, which is the longest one-syllable word in the English language, if you didn't know, strengths. But, what versus what we think they're going to be, I think the defensive line is great. I actually think the receiving core is going to be really, really good. I'm excited to watch them. I know they don't have Evan Stewart, and that is a bummer and a half, but they have Decorian Moore, and yeah, he's a true freshman, but they've got some veterans in there that can kind of help guide him through the adjustment going from high school to college. But, for the schedule this year, like no Ohio State. I mean, this would be a good year, I think, to play Michigan like it was last year, because I think Michigan's, a bowl team, but I think they're closer to 7-8 wins than 9 or 10. So, I don't think they're incredible, but certainly I think Michigan will be a little tougher this year than they were last year because their passing game might be competent. I don't know. They're starting a true freshman as well. But that's the other reason that I don't, sound the alarm bell on this season's going to be terrible. Oregon's not going to make the playoff. They couldn't possibly make a run, they couldn't possibly make a run in the playoff if they get there, because everybody else does have a lot of the same questions. To your point, is the amount of coaching turnover is a constant in college football, but it's the quarterbacks. We don't know how good Arch Manning's going to play this season, how well he's going to play this season. We don't know how good Julian Sayin is. We don't know how good CJ Carr is at Notre Dame. You can go up and down the list. The returning veteran quarterbacks for elite, potentially elite teams. You can say Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, Drew Aller at Penn State, Cade Klubnik at Clemson, who's probably the best. Am I missing anybody?
That's the elite list. Yeah, the elite team.
I don't want to hear DJ Lagway at Florida, because Florida's not going to be in the playoff this year. So I just, the number of top tier teams that are going to wind up in the playoff, like even if you look at, what some people view as a playoff dark horse in Oklahoma. I've never seen John Mateer play against the SEC. I saw him against the Mountain West last year, and he was really good. And he was one of my 2 favorite quarterbacks. He and Carson Beck, probably 1A, 1B, in what was a somewhat weaker quarterback portal cycle compared to years past. I think that he's really good. I think he can be good. I can't say that with 100% certainty. Like, going from the Mountain West to the SEC, that's a big jump. There might be an adjustment in there, and he's capable of making it, but that doesn't mean there won't be a couple of rough patches along the way where you will look at a couple of plays and you go, that play worked for him last year, but it doesn't work anymore. I think a lot of quarterbacks undergo that. We talk about Cam Ward at Miami, right? He was once an incarnate word, and he wound up the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Yeah, after he had 2 years at Washington State, he had 2 full seasons at Washington State, almost went to the draft, then decided to go to Miami and became the number 1 overall pick. And when Cam Ward went to Washington State, you bet your rear end there was an adjustment phase where he had a couple of those moments where you're like, that works when you're playing Southland competition. Welcome to the Pac-12, buddy. And then he figured that out and became really good. And he went to Miami and crushed it. So I think that for, Oregon having Dante Moore there, in other years it might be more of a disadvantage. But He's in a very quarterback-friendly system. 3 years in a row, it's had a quarterback over 70% completion, or at least 68%. I'd have to check Frank Harris's stats from 2022 when Will Stein was at UTSA. So he's got weapons around him. He should, emphasis on should, have a good offensive line. But that's what I'm excited to see this year is, the should, the I think, the I hope, I wish, I want. We get to finally see those results crystallized.
I can't recall how much I watched Dante Moore a couple years ago at UCLA, but I certainly saw those highlights of pick six after pick six, and that's kind of what he became jokingly known for, even though there were probably less than any of us determined.
I mean, it was 3 straight games with a pick six.
There you go.
Utah. It was Utah. Hold on. I got this. In order, it was Utah, Washington State, Oregon State. He threw a pick six in all of those games in a row.
Yeah.
And look, I have, tried to pump the brakes on some Oregon fans' optimism about Dante Moore this year. Tez Johnson on his way to the NFL after the Rose Bowl said he's going to be a Heisman finalist next year. Like, I know he's going to say that. Like, I love Tez, but that means nothing to me whatsoever. But let me throw this one at you, Mark. Can you think of a former 5-star quarterback that didn't live up to expectations at his previous stop, that threw too many interceptions, and that's all he became known for, that has transferred to Oregon recently? You got one off the top of your head?
Yeah, he's got a 2-letter first name.
Yeah, and a 3-letter last name, and he was the number 12 pick in the NFL draft and just led the Broncos to the playoffs. He did pretty well. This is the same system, And by the way, Bo Nix year 2, much better than Bo Nix in year 1, and that was Kenny Dillingham in year 1, not Will Stein, but he was still pretty good year 1. He's surrounded by talent. Oregon is going to be favored in 11 of the 12 games they play this year. That doesn't mean they're going to win 11 of 12. I think they probably wind up winning 10. I'm not quite sure yet where the second loss comes. One of them's Penn State. I think they lose that game. You look at Iowa, Washington in a rivalry game, Indiana or USC could clip you at home. I think those are the ones that I look at and go, yeah, I can see them losing. You don't play a clean game, that can happen. But, at Iowa, USC, at Washington, all this young talent that hasn't had a lot of time to get on the field for the Ducks will have had 2/3 of the season under their belt. And I think that's when Oregon will be playing its best football.
So when we get to watch Dante Moore play football, and again, I know that I watched him play at least a few series. It wasn't just highlights, but regardless, are we seeing a pocket passer who has the ability to burn the defense if needed?
Yes.
He's a throw first, but he's an athlete.
Yes,
correct.
That's correct. He told reporters this year in fall camp after a practice sometime that he topped out at 21.5 miles an hour, which is crazy. Then on an episode of Under Construction, Oregon's docu-series of fall camp, it showed him, pulling it on a read option and running away from the defense, and you went, whoa. I knew the guy could move. He's always good. I didn't know he had that. I don't think that's going to be a feature of his game, Mark. I don't think that's the way he's wired. It's not what Will Stein's offense really commands. Bo Nix ran a pretty good amount in 2022. He got dinged up. That cost him the Washington game that season. I wonder if that doesn't stick in Dan Lanning's mind a bit, because Bo Nix didn't run as much last year. Dylan Gabriel didn't run a ton last year, not compared to how much Gabriel ran at Oklahoma or UCF. He didn't run as much because instead of, the quarterback run being your secondary option on a run play, they usually add RPO tags. So I think that Dante Moore's skill set fits very well into that because he has such a quick release. He's a special arm talent, and he can throw from a number of different arm angles as well. So you think about, getting the ball out on the perimeter really quickly, he's going to be able to do that. And he can make every throw on the field. And yeah, he can also throw on the run. You can move the pocket. You can, give him long play action shots. Like, there's nothing he can't do at the quarterback position. It's got to come together up here. You go watch him and what he did at UCLA. It was way too fast for him, and he made a lot of freshman mistakes. That's kind of what freshmen do. Well, now he's a redshirt sophomore. He sat for a year. He took the mature route of I'm going to get developed. I'm going to sit. Now I'm going to come in and be the guy. Well, the only thing he has to fix, Mark, is how to read a defense and make the correct throws. That's it. That's all he's missing. It's just one thing. It's a pretty big thing, It's like saying, hey, this golfer, me, can hit the ball really, really well and really far. But man, the dude can't putt. If he can just putt consistently, oh man, he'd be real good. If I could putt consistently, I'd be insane at golf, Mark. Absolutely insane. Guess what? I can't. Why? Because it's hard. It's hard. It's one thing. It's not 5 things. He doesn't need to get stronger, get a little bit quicker, get his arms straight. No, he doesn't need to do any of that sort of stuff. He's just got to figure it out between the ears. If he does, sky's the limit.
How many baseball players have we heard that excelled at lower levels? If they could only hit the curveball.
Yeah, that's another great way of looking at it. It's like, well, he's just got to figure if he just learns how to hit the off speed. Yeah, okay. That's a lot easier said than done.